TriStar 4, this has become a familiar sight. It's up there almost every day, sometimes several times a day, and it represents our most important advance in the past year. StoreSat is our delivery system. It centers around the company Uplink in Springfield, Virginia, connected by a 2-hop microwave system to the News Bureau on Capitol Hill. And we have used it. During 9 months of operation, we've sent over 800 feeds to the television stations. We've been sending the cable store to a number of our systems, and we've shared it with others in the business. More on that later. StoreSat was our most important advance of the year. Moving here to Capitol Hill was the most pleasant. The new facility and our new equipment have put us into today's television business for sure. And this location provides easy access for congressional guests, many of whom have come here for live appearances. Live feeds have become standard operating procedure, with over 150 under our belts. WJBK TV2 uses us live several times a week.
My alternative when I came here, Dr. Paul, was to throw out 600,000 people. They pay 30 cents on the dollar to the government. Was self-defeating. And you say, well, why shouldn't we do it for everybody? You did it for my company, but I had 15,000 small businesses. I'm a microcosm of little businesses. And that's what happened. A lot of you are upset that it's working. There's an embarrassment.
There was the day of Lee Iacocca's triumphant return to Capitol Hill to explain how it was that Chrysler avoided bankruptcy. Questions from Joe Glover are a normal conclusion to these reports.
Now, you got a problem. Since Chrysler's working and will work, you'll have to decide the next big company that comes down whether you want to do the same thing if they can make the same story that I made and got a 2-to-1 vote from the House of Representatives. My billion is child's play compared to what you guys are doing. Get your deficit down. Don't go to the Tuesday auction. You're crowding me out every day right now.
But everybody counts with a small amount.
Even a healthy company you're crowding out. You get the deficits down, and there will be less bailouts and less help.
Okay.
So it was quite an impressive performance, Joe. Chrysler increased its sales last year, 60,000 units over 1980, the only domestic manufacturer to increase. Also increased its share of the market by 1%. And according to Mr. Iacocca, the company now seems to be lean and trim, and perhaps for the very first time in a long time, a tiny bit profitable.
Norm, can we then finally say it? Is Chrysler finally over the hump, or is there still some cause for concern?
Well, it's over the hump for the time being and maybe for the foreseeable future, but you have to remember that Chrysler's fate is tied to the economy, just as are all other businesses. So we'll have to see. We've mentioned the most important and most pleasant advances of the year. Next, the most helpful. 2 new employees. In September, Marilyn Burkle joined us as a correspondent. She's quite capable of handling any assignment that comes along. When Schlitz and Stroh's announced their marriage last month, WITI sent reporter Roseanne St. Albans to Washington. Roseanne and Marilyn double-teamed the story, with Roseanne feeding live to Milwaukee that evening, and Marilyn covering the Detroit angle in this live report.
The group also met with Wisconsin senators and congressmen, and at this hour they're at the White House making their case with the Reagan administration officials.
A lot of us assume, Marilyn, that this deal is a fait accompli. Is there any chance at all that the Justice Department is going to reconsider and call off the deal?
Well, Joe, the Justice Department gave tentative approval on April 29th. There's a 60-day period before that tentative approval becomes formal. So it is conceivable that within 60 days they could receive some sort of evidence that would make them change their mind. But it's
in April, Bob Cherricks joined us as our second cameraman. Not only was he totally familiar with our equipment when he arrived, he brings an editing talent that is very helpful. Bob and Marilyn worked together at a television station in Salisbury, Maryland. Together, they are an invaluable addition. The key to keeping all our equipment operating is Paul Hanulia. We took him away from WJKW last year to bear the burden of construction and startup, both of the Uplink and the News Bureau. The delivery system is his baby. He designed some of it, installed most of it, and pampers all of it day by day. Some of you have seen the News Bureau, some have not. It's located on the first floor of a modern office building a couple of blocks from the Capitol. We share the first floor with some familiar names and longtime friends in the business, including a very good friend in the cable business. We have offices and workrooms and a long corridor suitable for framed pictures. We've even developed a rogues gallery of visitors who have come to be interviewed or just to pay a call. The business end centers in 2 rooms. This is an edit and feed center, custom designed by Paul Hanulia. Through extensive cabling, our patch panel gets access to our sidewalk and roof locations, the feed from the House of Representatives, and one day soon we hope the U.S. Senate. We are also interconnected to the other broadcasters in the building. That has been a lifesaver, pulling us through several emergency breakdowns. This is our small studio. It wouldn't do for a TV station, but it suits our needs. Some of the stations have sent us custom-made logos to give them a Washington identification. With the view of the Capitol we have from outside, the studio is normally used only in inclement weather. While we're in the studio, we'd like to make a special report. We've singled out the most important, the most helpful, and the most pleasant changes of the past year. Now we'd like to talk about the most rewarding. Earlier, I mentioned that we share StoreSat with others in the business. We've helped King and Cron, Jefferson Pilot, Bonneville. We've done some work for Scripps Howard and for Cap Cities and for numerous independents. And in the process, we've generated some revenue. So we've got some numbers to talk about. Now, please understand, I don't have Frank Barron's grasp of the significance of these numbers. Sheila Kelly keeps track of all those numbers for us. Now, she doesn't have the analytical flair of Peter Storer Jr., but we do make do. And while Paul Moulton doesn't have Peter Murray's deft touch with that slide projector, I have asked him to help us with this presentation. Paul, if we can see the first chart. It was a slow beginning in late September, early October. It took some time for people to know we were here and available, but come November, we got to rolling along, and altogether, it wasn't a bad beginning. Okay, Paul. Then with the pre-Christmas rush, we really started to gather some momentum. Go ahead, Paul. There was a post-holiday lull that slowed our growth a bit, but it could not stop that momentum we had going. Okay, Paul. By February, we had really established a recognizable pace. Okay, Paul. And in March, we turned it on, a really big one, we called it. We did some live shots for Philadelphia and Memphis, and with that kick, we sprinted to our best finish ever. Let's let them look at that and appreciate it for a moment, Paul. Okay, Paul. Well, we obviously spent too much of ourselves in that March sprint. That plus the arrival of some friendly competition gave us a disappointing April. Go ahead, Paul. I think that's enough of that one. There was a slight recovery in May that seemed to be holding up in early June. It's too early to know, however, if that recovery is solid. All right, Paul. And there you see the finals. With more experience, we may or may not show better performance next year, but with $31,000 this year, we fell into more of it than any of us really expected. Thank you, Paul. Our apologies to the Messrs. Barron, Murray, and Storer Jr. But look at it this way, Frank. Our presentation here just makes your presentation look a whole lot different. We close now with a small confection. It was photographed by Paul Moulton. It was edited by Paul Hanulia. It was inspired by the beauty around us this spring. Listen carefully as you look at the pretty pictures, and you'll understand perhaps a little better why Warren and Jim and Walter and their colleagues, and all of us at the News Bureau, are glad to be just where we are. It's beautiful in any season, but spring is special. It's famous for cherry blossoms, appreciated for much more. These blossoms are fragile, too often short-lived, and Mother Nature has other exhibits in her spring parade. In this building, Solons deliberate weighty matters, budgets in the billions, nuclear war, civil rights. And just outside are countless invitations to divert the attention, glorious diversions, fluffy white and colorful, man-made, and nature's child. An occasional imposter. A sentinel stands guard, surveying the changing scene. Millions come each year. Some must leave their mark. another season. For winter's rains and ruins are over, and frosts are slain and flowers begotten. Blossom by blossom, the spring begins.